Hey, what's up, ZK Racers? We are finally able to breed Gen 1s. That chapter is open. We're now moving forward. Very excited by that. For people like myself that have been stockpiling Liquid Loves and Gen 1s and sugar, finally that gets to be consumed in the game. Very excited about that. Ancestry rewards are coming and lots more to talk about. So like me personally, what I'm stoked about this is it is opening up new strategy to the game finally. So players like me that just sit on the sideline watching Plex and Rob have all these great horses and building them up, I'm finally able to start breeding some of my strongest horses and put my skin into the game after years on the sidelines.
Yeah, it feels like it's been forever. It feels like it's been coming forever. I have a ton of Gen Zeros, and I thought that meant that I was going to be having all these great Gen 1s. I ended up not having a ton of great Gen 1s. It was something like 5 to 10% were even halfway decent, which then led to this like somewhat disappointment as soon as Gen 2s came around. I was like, I don't actually have as many Gen 1s as I thought I was going to have, which is just a little sad in the moment, but it is opening up a ton of really cool pairing opportunities because they put no restrictions on the breeding. So you can pair up just about any horse with another. So there's a lot of interesting pairings that I'm already working on putting together, and I'm excited to see what comes of that.
What do you expect of Gen 2s to come out from this? Are they going to destroy Gen Zeros? Are they going to have a chance?
I mean, that's a really fascinating question. Like we've talked about this. I mean, one of the things with Gen 2s is that we know they'll be mildly better, or they should start to be. But we also know that there's a limit of, I think it's plus 5%, right, on each of their stats. So combine that, do 1,000 breedings of a particular pair, and you're talking about maybe 5% of those 50 horses out of 1,000 being that much better. I mean, that's just percentage odds. That's not even the actual odds that it's 5% better. It's just that, if we're just taking a linear number here and saying that there's equal number that are 1% better or 2% better or 3% better, then you might have 50 of them that are 5% better. But that's not, I don't even think it's going to work that way. I think the odds are even smaller that you see that many, because you could have just as many on the negative 5% side.
You could.
So like, I don't know how many thousands of pairings of the same horses you're going to have to see them beat their own lineage. And this is something we dealt with Gen Zeros as well.
Well, yeah, but no, I remember when Gen Zero started breeding, the Gen 1s that came out, that was an exciting race. Everybody was just hammering it, and we were just attacking the race tracks as best as we could. The population average over time has undeniably gone faster and faster. Now, that could be due to champion compression from all the slower horses coming off the tracks, or it could be breeding in new, faster horses that are coming in there. So I would be curious, like, what kind of time frame would you estimate before Gen 2s begin to dominate the tracks?
I mean, begin to dominate, I think that you'll see it right away. There's always good horses that show up. In terms of pushing, let's say Gen Zeros entirely off the track, I suspect that we're going to need to see a couple thousand horses bred. And we know right now, as of this video, I mean, it's early September and there's been like 150 of them bred. I think you're going to need to see 10 times that before the Gen Zeros are pushed off. Now, that's still going to leave all the Gen 1s. And I think there's a ton of Gen 1s that are still better than these Gen 2s are going to be. And again, let's say 5% better than a Gen 0, you still have to have better than the Gen 1s that you paired. And let's be honest, finding two good Gen 1s that can actually breed together and make a better Gen 2, you could have 5% better than one of the Gen 1s and still be worse than the other Gen 1. And that means we didn't push anything off the track.
Yeah, that's true. I just think that by having the Gen 1s being able to breed, I would suspect that most stables have at least doubled their breeding pool size, like collectively. So if you have one or two good Gen Zeros, I would hope that in the time of breeding those, you now have probably one or two good Gen 1s that you could breed. I really like that they did not put any incestual restrictions on there, because I think it's hard to find a good breeding pair. And like, if I couldn't use Skondert to breed with close the board, I would not be able to have, I think, a solid stallion in my stable still, unfortunately.
Now you mentioned the Gen Zeros being able to breed, and obviously keeping it in house for the Gen Ones. If you started to create a good lineage like that, they are starting to reward you for any of those Gen 2s that are born, and that's the ancestry rewards. It's an additional 20 Zerk on top of the original 50 Zerk to breed, and then that 20 Zerk gets split amongst the Gen Zero parents.
Yep.
Of the Gen 1s. And what's nice about that is if you're keeping it all in your stable, you're getting all that money back. It's coming right back to you. But if you bred with a Gen Zero from another stable, they're going to get some of the kickback. You're going to get some of the kickback. It's a nice win-win for all the different parties involved. But you mentioned, like, hopefully people have doubled their breeding pool. If you had a few decent Gen Zeros and now you have some decent Gen 1s, I'll be honest, like I don't know how many Gen Zeros I own, 50 plus, let's say 50 to 70, somewhere in that range. The Gen 1s that I own, I mean, I've bred over 100 of them. I probably have realistically 6 or 7 really good Gen Zeros and probably 6 or 7 really good Gen 1s. It's surprising. Like, considering how many that have been bred, I don't have as big of a Gen 1 pool to breed as I thought I would. In fact, we've only had this open for a few days now, and I've probably bred as many Gen 1s with Gen Zeros as I did Gen 1s and Gen 1s.
Okay.
So because I didn't have enough. Like, pairing your Gen 1s, you immediately cut it in half.
Yeah.
And so I have a question for you. Like, how many generations do you think it is before Gen Zeros are fully eliminated? Like, we'll never see. Do you think, like, the Hungry Eyes of the world or some of these other incredible Gen Zeros that we saw, are they gone after Gen 2 gets really good, or is it Gen 3, Gen 4 before they're gone?
I do think that Gen Zeros are going to get pushed out probably within the next 6 to 12 months. That'd be my best guess, just due to watching how strong Gen 1s have gone. And like, I look at my Skondert for my barometer of all of these things, of the pressure in the game, is that Skondert was always profitable, and he maintains that profitability, but it does slowly start to decay. So having a Gen Zero that used to have A's and B's almost everywhere, turning into C's everywhere, is just a testimony that everything is getting faster. So at a certain point, unless that Gen Zero was A's and B's originally, it's going to get pushed out. If it was originally C's and B's, it's probably all D's and X's. So then counter question to you too, because I'm curious to your thoughts on this. What do we get first? When we breed all these horses, I'm guessing majority of people are breeding their faster horses, but the 5% plus or minus, we're assuming maybe that is equally distributed. Do you think we're going to get faster horses or slow horses? Or do you think it's going to be equal? Or do you think that there's going to be one area that's going to be an opportunity for stable to breed into and try to foster that growth first?
I think from a distribution, normal distribution standpoint, it should be equal. We should see as many faster as slower. However, it's going to come down to who's actually breeding and racing. If you're targeting a donkey and you want to breed another donkey, then you're going to get one eventually. But there's not as many people doing that. I mean, we just didn't see it with the Gen 1s. There's only a handful of people that were even targeting that. I think most people see, I want to go faster, I want to break records. There's still more rewards for doing tournaments and events and special monthly stuff for the champion track type. Yeah. So with that, I think you're going to see more people pushing toward a combo of faster.
I mean, I think so too. That's why I'm going to take advantage of the donkey tracks and try to get the Derpy 2 years in a row.
Nice, man. Well, speaking of actual events, we've got the UnRaced tourney that's just opened up registration. You should be able to breed your Gen 1 horses and dive into that. But there's actually something exciting that we're adding to this particular event that anyone who's catching this video and it's still open for registration, you should take advantage of. You can, throw an unraced Gen 1 horse into this same unraced Gen 2 tournament, even though it's not labeled as Gen 2 tourney, the Gen 1s will get a bonus. And we're adding 50% to the actual prize pool in terms of the Zerk prize pool for our previous generation. And we hope that that's something that we can carry over into the future too. So this discussion of, does the Gen 3 push off the Gen 1s? Does a Gen 4 push off the Gen 2s? Maybe. But you may hang on to some of these unraced Gen 1s and earn a ton in the future if they can take down a top spot in a future tournament.
Absolutely. And the reason why we did this is that we've done too much testing over the years, trying to track how many runs do you need per TD to be able to understand where a horse is good. And the thing that we have realized over and over and over again is that your horse might get stupidly lucky the first 30, 40 races, and then it could fall off, or it's the invert. So with the scramble that we're doing, the Summit Scramble, everybody just remind you, you get the 3 runs per TD. So we pick the fastest version of it. So you just got to hope that your brand new horse gets 1 good run per TD, and it sums up the total time, and that's your horse's speed for this event. So for those that still have a lot of Gen Zeros that are breeding really good pairs of that, you could submit into the race or to the Summit Unraced, and you could potentially get 50% higher rewards. For those that want to be extremely ballsy, if you have Gen Zeros that you have not raced, throw them in too. So let's figure out where they land.
Oddly enough, I do still have some Gen Zeros that I've kept unraced, and I'm just like, I've bred them in the past, and they're not great. Like, they don't make good babies, but we don't actually know if that means anything. It could have just been a bad breeding. So I've thought about it. I've also thought it would be kind of funny to hold on to them for like multiple more generations and then randomly throw in a Gen Zero unraced like years from now. So who knows? We'll see. We'll see when they actually end up on the track.
Right on. So registration is open for this one. So make sure that you register your horses for every single one of the 6. So that way you get the full range. Let's see. And then how long we're going to keep registration open for on this one?
So the event actually starts September 15th. Registration's open now. So just make sure you register before then. I think there's a limit of 300 spots though. So that may fill up. Again, as of this recording, there was 150 Gen 2s that had been born. Like 80% of them are still unraced. So we're expecting a lot of those to be entered into the event. And over the next handful of days, as we keep that registration open, you're probably going to see more and more fill those spots. So make sure you breed, get them registered as soon as you can. And then, hey, use that sugar to lower your cooldown and breed them again and throw them in.
Right on. One clarifying question, just in case other people bring it up, is that you have an unraced horse, you register for the event. Can you go run that horse?
Absolutely. It's all based on when you register the horse. Now, make sure you registered it to all 6 tournaments before you start racing it on the tracks. But yes, as soon as they're in, they've had their spot locked, you can start to race them.
Fantastic. All right, guys. We'll hope to see you in the UnRaced events. Curious to see if any Gen 1s out there will be able to take the cake, but my money's on Gen 2s.
Let's see what happens.
We smashing in a history, Gen 1's running free. Got that liquid love, pass it down your family tree. Fools on the way, Gen 2 in the zone. Ancestral rewards, yeah, it's paying off at home. Finally open, the stable's alive.
Oh
Gen 0,
my.
Gen 1, watch them thrive. Mix and match, keep the bloodline strong.
That's amazing.
Yeah, getting the kids ready for school.
That's right. That's right. He drives that to class.
Yeah.